The storm raged outside the broken walls of the colony outpost. Dust and sparks danced in the air while alarms echoed through the corridors. Captain Darius had been told this sector was abandoned years ago, but the glowing red signs and the strange hum of power proved otherwise. He pushed forward, rifle tight in his hands, every step sinking into sand that had drifted inside the structure. Something about this place felt wrong, as if it had been left untouched on purpose. He entered the central chamber, and that was where he saw it. A tall glass containment cell reinforced with steel bars and glowing with warning lights. On the top in bold red letters was the warning: Restricted Biohazard Level 6. Inside the chamber stood two figures that froze his breath. One was sitting on the ground, arms wrapped around her knees, long silver hair falling over her pale face. Her eyes glowed faintly blue in the dim light. The other stood tall and proud, dark armor clinging to her frame, glowing golden eyes fixed on him with a mix of hatred and despair. They were sisters. He could tell from their features, but they looked nothing like any human he had ever known. For a moment he thought he was dreaming. Their beauty was unnatural, their presence heavy like a storm waiting to break. The younger sister looked fragile, too weak to stand, but the older one seemed like a predator held behind glass. Darius lowered his weapon slightly, torn between fear and a strange pull he could not explain. Why would anyone lock them away like this? And why here in a colony that was supposed to be abandoned? The taller sister stepped forward, her hand pressing against the glass. Her lips moved, though no sound came through the barrier. Then a voice whispered in his helmet, not through speakers but straight into his head. Human, release us. His heart jumped. Telepathy. He had read reports but never experienced it himself. The voice was sharp, commanding, but beneath it was something else. Desperation. The alarms around him changed tone, warning of a breach. Darius looked back toward the entry hall and saw movement. Raiders. Not the usual scavengers, but a heavily armed band tearing through the outpost. They had spotted him. He fired 2 quick bursts, dropping the first attackers, but more were flooding in. He had no time. He turned back to the glass cell, to the sisters watching him with eyes that burned like stars. The younger one finally lifted her head. Her lips trembled as her voice filled his mind, softer, weaker than her sister's. They are coming for us. If they take us, your world will burn. Her words chilled him deeper than the storm outside. He had fought raiders before, pirates, mercenaries, all kinds of enemies, but never had anyone spoken with such certainty, such fear. He pressed his hand against the console near the cell, his mind racing. Should he trust them? Were they prisoners for a reason? Or were they victims abandoned to rot in this forgotten place? The raiders' footsteps grew louder. Explosions rocked the outpost, shaking dust from the ceiling. He had seconds to decide. The older sister's golden eyes locked on his. Save us, soldier. Or lose everything. Darius hit the release. The glass hissed and slid open, filling the chamber with a rush of cold mist. The taller sister stepped forward like a shadow freed, her armor catching the light, her presence overwhelming. She reached down and lifted her younger sister with ease, then turned those glowing eyes back to Darius. For the first time, he wondered if he had made a mistake. Darius backed away as the tall alien sister carried her sibling out of the containment cell. The temperature around them dropped sharply, as if the air itself feared what had just been unleashed. The red warning lights kept flashing, but now they meant nothing. Whatever secrets this place held had just been unlocked. The older sister walked with calm power, her bare feet silent on the cold metal floor. Her armor looked ancient and worn, but there was something deadly about the way it clung to her body, like it had grown into her skin. Her glowing golden eyes flicked toward Darius for a brief second, then moved past him. The younger one still looked weak. Her silver hair clung to her pale face and her lips trembled as she tried to breathe. She leaned into her sister's arms like she had done this before, like this was not the first time they'd escaped danger together. Darius raised his rifle again, unsure whether to aim it at the corridor or the 2 strange beings he'd just freed. "What are you?" he asked, voice tight. The older sister paused, shifting the smaller girl into one arm with unnatural ease. "We are the reason this outpost was forgotten," she said aloud this time. Her voice was clear, sharp, and cold. Before Darius could ask more, the ceiling above cracked with a blast. A raider dropped through, landing behind him with a thud. Darius fired without hesitation. The body fell, smoke rising from its chest. More followed from both ends of the corridor. Without warning, the alien sister leapt. She moved faster than his eyes could follow. In one motion, she dropped the body she was carrying, spun midair, and struck the nearest raider with her elbow. The man flew across the corridor and slammed into the wall, unmoving. Darius turned to cover her but didn't need to. She was already gone from his sight, moving like lightning between the shadows. Her attacks weren't just fast, they were precise, like she had done this for centuries. The younger sister, still weak, crawled behind one of the console panels. Her eyes glowed brighter now, and lines of blue light shimmered under her skin. She raised one trembling hand toward Darius. "Help me," she said softly. "They are not just raiders. They serve something worse." He moved quickly, kneeling beside her and pulling her behind cover. "What are they after?" She winced, clutching her ribs. "Us, or rather what we carry. If they take it, your planet is next." That was all she said before her strength gave out and her head dropped to his shoulder. The fight raged behind them. Screams echoed, metal clanged, and the sound of bones breaking filled the corridor. When it finally fell silent, Darius looked up. The tall sister stood at the far end, surrounded by bodies. None were breathing. She didn't look tired. She didn't even look human. She looked like something carved from war and shadows. Darius stared at her in awe. "You could have broken out any time." "Why wait?" She looked back at him, then at her sister. "Because she wasn't ready, and we needed someone to choose." He didn't understand, but something told him this was just the beginning. Alarms continued to blare in the background. A soft tremor shook the floor. More were coming. Not just raiders. Something darker. He picked up the younger sister in his arms. The taller one gave a single nod and moved to the front again, guarding them. Darius followed without a word. He had stepped into something far beyond a simple mission, and whatever these sisters were, they weren't done with him yet. The outpost was falling apart. Smoke drifted through the broken lights as sparks popped from torn wires above. Darius moved quickly, holding the younger sister in his arms. She was lighter than he expected, like her bones were made of something hollow. Her skin was cold, but not like a dead body. It felt more like moonlight. The older sister led the way without speaking. She walked ahead, her eyes scanning every corner, every ceiling, every flicker of movement. Her senses were sharp, more animal than human. At times she paused, sniffed the air, and adjusted her path without a word. Darius followed, trying not to think about how strange this all was. He had come here chasing a simple signal, a distress beacon buried in a forgotten colony. He had expected maybe a few scavengers or broken tech. Instead, he had found this. 2 alien sisters sealed in a high-security lab, one a warrior, one barely conscious. And now both of them hunted. Behind them, more footsteps echoed. The raiders had backup. They slipped through a maintenance tunnel and reached a side hatch half buried in sand. The older sister pushed open the rusted door with one hand and waited for Darius to carry her sister through. Outside, the desert stretched in all directions. "What now?" he asked. The warrior looked at the sky. Storm clouds rolled fast across the horizon, but there was something else. 3 dark shapes drifting above the clouds. At first, he thought they were ships, but their shape was wrong. Organic, alive. "They brought void hunters," she said coldly. "We need to move." Darius's heart pounded. Void hunters were myths, creatures made from the dark between stars. He had only read about them in old war files, dismissed as hallucinations from broken soldiers. But she spoke the name like it was fact. The younger sister stirred in his arms, eyes fluttering open. "They can smell it. The spark," she whispered. "What spark?" he asked. She placed her hand on his chest. "You don't know, but you carry it now." A chill ran down his spine. Suddenly something shrieked in the sky. One of the floating shapes dove fast, slicing through clouds like a bird of prey. The older sister grabbed Darius and pulled him down just before the creature swept over them. The ground cracked as the shockwave hit. The creature circled back, but it didn't land. It hovered, watching. "They won't strike yet," the sister said. "They want to see if we run." Darius stared at her. "You know these things," she nodded. "They followed us before. But we were locked away so they couldn't find us again." "Why were you locked away?" he asked. The older sister didn't answer. The younger one, eyes half closed, whispered, "Because when we lose control, even stars die." Darius couldn't speak. His mouth went dry. The older sister motioned to the far rocks. "There's a buried craft under the ridge. We make it there, we leave this place. But if they catch us before then? She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. Darius gripped the girl tighter and followed. He had no idea what kind of power he had just unleashed, but it was too late to turn back. They ran through the sand-blasted canyon, the wind sharp and dry against their faces. Every few seconds, Darius looked up, expecting the floating creature to strike again. But it didn't. It just hovered in the sky like a shadow waiting to fall. The older sister moved like a ghost. Her steps didn't leave prints, and she never made a sound. Darius followed closely, carrying the younger one in his arms. Her breathing was slow, eyes half shut, but her hand was still on his chest, as if she could feel something through his heartbeat. The wind howled louder. Static flickered through Darius's helmet as if something nearby was jamming all signals. He tried to call for backup again. Nothing. Dead silence. He felt completely cut off. They reached the ridge. Buried in the sand was a half-covered hull, scorched and rusted but still intact. It looked like an old scout ship, the kind used before the war even began. The older sister moved to the hatch and touched a hidden panel. Blue lights blinked. With a slow hiss, the door opened. Inside was dark, filled with silence and dust. Darius stepped in carefully. The walls were covered in strange markings, symbols glowing faintly like veins of light. "What is this ship?" he asked. "It's ours," the older sister said. Before they locked us away, Darius laid the younger girl on a padded bench. She opened her eyes, and for the first time she smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. It was a tired one, like someone remembering a dream that always ended in fire. "I remember this place," she whispered. "It feels like home. Or maybe like the place we died." The ship rumbled as the systems powered up. Lights flickered on, dim at first, then brighter. But as they warmed, the same blue veins began to spread across the floor and walls, pulsing gently. "What's happening?" Darius asked. "She's waking the ship," the older sister replied. "But it also means they can sense us now. We don't have much time." Suddenly, the ground shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Outside, a scream filled the air, long and sharp like metal tearing through bone. Darius ran to the small side window. One of the floating creatures had landed. It was bigger than it looked in the sky. Its body was long, with bones exposed in strange places, and tendrils of black smoke curled from its back. It didn't walk, it glided. Behind it, more raiders poured in, surrounding the ridge. "We're surrounded," Darius said. The older sister didn't flinch. "Let them come. I'm not locked in anymore," he looked at her. "You can fight all of them?" Her eyes glowed brighter. "You haven't seen what we are yet." But before she moved, the younger one called out, "Wait, you can't use it again." "Not here," her sister paused, fist tight. "They'll kill him if I don't." The girl looked at Darius. "You carry the spark now. If she loses control, it will awaken in you, and we won't be able to stop it." Darius's chest burned where her hand had rested. He looked down and saw faint blue lines glowing under his skin. "What did you do to me?" he asked, voice shaking. "I didn't do anything," the girl whispered. "It chose you." Another explosion rocked the side of the ridge. The creature outside screamed again. The ship's walls vibrated like they were alive. The older sister turned slowly, stepping toward the hatch. "Stay here. Both of you. I'll hold them off." "No," Darius said, stepping forward. "You'll die out there alone." She smiled without warmth. "I've died before." She opened the hatch and stepped out into the storm. The wind roared as the hatch slammed shut behind her. The older sister walked into the storm like it was nothing. Sand swept around her, but her feet barely sank into the ground. Her golden eyes focused on the creature that had landed. It stood still, almost curious. The raiders behind it hesitated. They didn't attack right away. They knew what she was. Inside the ship, Darius watched through the narrow side window, heart racing. He didn't know what kind of fight was coming, but he could feel it through the metal. Like the storm wasn't outside anymore, it was inside her. The younger sister sat up weakly, eyes wide. "She's holding it back," she whispered. "But if they strike first, she won't stop." "Stop what?" Darius asked. The girl looked at him, her voice trembling. "The thing inside her. The same force they locked us up for. The reason our world died." Outside, the raiders finally made their move. One raised a pulse rifle and fired. The shot hit her square in the chest and vanished. No spark, no smoke, nothing. It was as if the blast had been swallowed. Then she moved. Darius barely followed what happened next. 1 second she stood still, the next, she was already among them. Her arms moved in sharp, perfect strikes faster than sound. The raider she touched first dropped like his bones had turned to dust. Another aimed a blade at her neck. Her hand caught the weapon mid-air, twisted it, and drove it through the attacker's armor in one motion. The others opened fire. The bullets curved. Darius couldn't believe what he was seeing. The bullets didn't hit her. They bent around her like she had become the center of gravity. Some ricocheted into the sand. Others hit the raiders behind her. She didn't even blink. The creature finally stepped forward. It opened its mouth, or what looked like one, and let out a sound that wasn't made for ears. Darius dropped to his knees. So did the younger sister. It wasn't a sound, it was a pull. A gravity that pressed into their minds, but she stood her ground. The energy around her shifted. The sand lifted around her feet, suspended in the air like dust caught in a frozen wave. Her golden eyes flared like suns. Then, with a simple motion, she raised her hand and curled her fingers into a fist. The creature screamed again, but this time, its scream turned into a howl of pain. Its body bent, twisted as if invisible chains were pulling it apart. And then, she let go. The creature collapsed. Not dead, not broken, just emptied. Its body hit the ground like a bag of ash. The raiders fled. Those that didn't were already down. Darius couldn't move. He had never seen power like this. Not even in the war, not in the worst of battles. The hatch opened again. She stepped inside, her hair blown wild, her armor glowing with faint cracks of light. Her hands were shaking, she didn't speak. She just looked at her sister. The younger one nodded. "You stopped just in time." "I almost didn't," the older sister whispered. "It's getting stronger. I can feel it waking again." Darius finally stood. "What are you?" The older sister looked at him. Not with hate, not with warmth. Just truth. We were built to protect a dying star. But when it died, we didn't. Darius stared at her, not knowing what that meant. The ship lights dimmed again. The younger sister looked up suddenly. "They're not done." Outside, the sky darkened more. "Something worse is coming," she said. "And this time, they're not after us." The air in the ship grew heavy, not from heat or smoke, but from something else. Something ancient. Darius could feel it pressing against his skin, crawling into his chest like invisible fingers. The younger sister's eyes were wide now, glowing brighter. "They're not after us anymore," she whispered again. "They're coming for you." Darius froze. "Me?" The older sister stood at the hatch, staring out into the storm. "You've touched the core," she said softly. That's enough. He didn't understand. He looked at the small blue lines still faintly glowing on his arms, across his chest where the girl had touched him. "What is this? What did I take from you?" The younger one sat upright, breathing heavily. "Not taken, given. The spark doesn't belong to us. It chooses. You let it in when you opened that cell." Darius backed away slowly. "I didn't ask for this." "No one ever does," the older sister said. "But once it finds a host, it marks you. That's why the Void Hunters changed course. They don't chase the spark, they consume it. And now you're their target." A deep hum echoed through the desert outside. The walls of the ship vibrated. From the sky something was descending. Not fast, not loud. Slow, heavy, like a mountain lowering itself from the clouds. Darius moved to the window and saw it. A massive dark shape. Not like the others. It didn't float. It hovered without wings or engines. It was round, pulsing like it was breathing. Dozens of smaller shapes floated around it, drifting, twitching, waiting. "What is that?" he asked. The older sister answered without looking. "That's the Warden." The name made no sense, but it still sent a chill through his blood. "The Warden only comes when the spark is fully awakened," the younger sister said. "They don't want to kill you. Not right away. They want to bind you, use you, burn systems with your light until there's nothing left." Darius turned to her. "Then take it back. Whatever it is, remove it from me." She shook her head slowly. "If I try, it will tear you apart." "If she tries," she nodded toward her sister, "the spark will consume her too." The Warden outside grew closer. The ground trembled. Sand rose around the ship, swirling like a storm but without wind. Darius clenched his fists. "Then what do we do?" "We run," the older sister said, "but they'll follow us." She looked at him. "Yes, until you learn how to stop them." The younger sister reached for his hand. "You need to see what the spark is. Why it chose you. There's only one place left that can show you." Darius nodded slowly. "Where?" The two sisters looked at each other. The older one answered, "Home." Darius stared at her. "I thought your world was destroyed." "It was," she said. "But what's left is buried beneath it. And that's where your spark will fully awaken, or end you." A sudden jolt rocked the ship. A massive tentacle of black mist scraped against the hull. Lights dimmed, alarms screamed. Darius looked to the pilot seat. "Can this ship still fly?" The older sister climbed into it, hands already moving across alien symbols. "It was waiting for you." The engines hummed low at first, then grew into a rising roar. Energy lit the floor beneath them, flowing into the walls. Another thud shook the ship. The warden was right outside. The younger sister grabbed Darius's arm. "If you want to live, don't fight the spark. Let it guide you, even if it hurts." He nodded, unsure of what any of it meant, but knowing they had no choice. The ship broke free from the ground, rising into the sky. Behind them, the warden reached down with 100 tendrils of black. But the ship was faster, just barely. They escaped for now. The ship tore through the dark sky, rising above the storm, away from the warden's reach. Darius sat in silence beside the younger sister while the older one piloted. Outside the window, stars stretched like rivers of light, but something was wrong. They didn't look peaceful. They looked like they were watching. The younger sister leaned against him, her head resting lightly on his shoulder. "It remembers you now," she said softly. "What does?" "The spark. It's starting to wake up inside you." He looked down at his hand. The faint blue glow was brighter now, pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. It didn't hurt, but it didn't feel like it belonged to him either. "Where exactly are we going?" Darius asked. The older sister answered without turning. "The ashes of our world, a place untouched by time. That's where it all began. That's where you'll find the truth." "How far is it?" "Far enough that nothing sane ever goes there," she said calmly. The ship drifted past a shattered moon. Its surface was cracked and floating in giant chunks. Debris scraped the hull, but the sisters didn't flinch. This place wasn't unknown to them. It was familiar. Soon they reached orbit over a planet that barely looked alive. It was dark, its surface scarred with glowing canyons and rivers of ash. Lightning crackled across black clouds. Darius had seen war zones, but this looked like a world that had screamed before it died. "This is your home?" he asked. The younger sister opened her eyes. "This was once the heart of our people. The cradle. Before the spark turned us into weapons. They descended through the thick clouds. The air was heavy with static and heat. The ship settled near a deep crater, surrounded by fallen towers and ruins shaped like giant spires. When the hatch opened, Darius stepped out and nearly collapsed. The gravity was stronger, but it wasn't just physical weight. It was something deeper, a pressure on the soul. The sisters walked without trouble. Darius followed, struggling to breathe. At the center of the crater stood a dark monolith. Black stone, smooth, rising from the ground like a single fang. The younger sister pointed to it. The spark was born here, not as light, but as fire. It was created to protect us. But we were not ready. None of us were. The older sister touched the stone. It pulsed once with pale light. Then it cracked open like a door. Inside was a narrow passage leading into the earth. Walls glowed faintly with old runes, swirling like mist trapped in crystal. Darius followed them deeper. Each step echoed louder. The glow in his chest grew stronger. "Your body is changing," the older sister said. "It's adapting. The spark isn't just a power. It's alive. It remembers everything it's ever touched. What happens if I can't control it?" The younger sister paused. "You'll burn. From the inside out. And when that happens, the warden will return. Not to capture you, but to end you before you end everything else." He swallowed hard. "Why me?" The older sister stopped walking. "Because you showed mercy. You opened the cell. You made a choice with no gain. And the spark, it listens to hearts like that." Darius stared ahead at the chamber now opening before them. In its center, a giant glowing orb floated silently, wrapped in chains of light and shadow. "This is the core," the younger one whispered. "Touch it, and the spark will show you what came before. Who we were, what we became, and what you still might be." Darius stepped forward, unsure. The sisters stayed behind. His fingers reached for the glowing sphere, and the moment he touched it, the world around him shattered. The moment Darius touched the glowing core, everything around him vanished. The air, the stone, even his body, gone. He was no longer standing. He wasn't falling either. He was floating inside something vast and endless. Not space, not time. Something older. Images rushed past him, not like memories, but like living thoughts. He saw cities floating in the sky. Golden towers stretching above the clouds. He saw beings, not quite human, not quite alien, tall, glowing, walking through halls made of starlight. And then he saw the spark. It was not a weapon at first. It was a promise. A living force made to protect, to guide, to bind dying stars into new life. It was hope, but hope can be stolen. Darius watched as war erupted across systems. Civilizations tore themselves apart trying to claim the spark. He saw kings burn entire moons just to hold a piece of its light. He saw entire fleets wiped out when the spark turned on them, deciding they were no longer worthy. And then he saw two figures, the sisters. They were chosen, merged with the spark in ways no others had survived. One to carry its fire, the other to carry its memory. Together they were meant to lead the last people of a dying galaxy to safety. But something went wrong. The older sister burned too brightly. Her mind began to slip. The power inside her twisted, becoming something sharp and wild. Whole planets trembled when she lost control. The younger one tried to stop it, but she was not strong enough. So they were sealed away, not as punishment, as protection. For the galaxy, and for themselves. The spark, broken and quiet, was hidden, waiting for someone else, someone not born for power, someone who would act out of mercy, not desire. Then Darius saw himself walking into the outpost, lowering his gun. Pressing the button, he gasped and fell back. The vision ended. He was back in the chamber, kneeling on the cold ground. Sweat ran down his face. His hands trembled. The younger sister knelt beside him. "You saw it?" He nodded slowly. "Everything." The older sister stood silently. Her face showed no emotion, but her eyes watched him closely. "Now you know what we are. What you are becoming." Darius looked at his arms. The glow was stronger now. His veins shimmered with pulsing blue light. The spark wasn't hiding anymore. "But I'm human," he said. "I'm not built for this. You said people died just trying to hold it." The younger sister reached for his hand. "You held it the moment you chose to help us. Not because you wanted power, but because you cared. That's what the spark responds to. Not strength. Not bloodlines, intention." A deep rumble echoed through the chamber. The ground shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. "They found us," the older sister said. Outside in the ruined sky, the warden descended again. But this time it wasn't alone. 3 more had joined it. Darius stood up, his breath steadying. "They'll come for the spark again, won't they?" "Yes," the younger sister said. "But this time they don't just want to capture it. They'll erase the entire planet to make sure no trace of you survives." Darius looked at them both, his voice calm but firm. "Then we don't run." The older sister raised an eyebrow. "You want to fight them?" "No," he said. "We make them see what I saw. What the spark really is. We end what started here." The sisters exchanged a glance. A faint glow spread from Darius's body, brighter with each passing second. Outside, the sky turned red. The war was returning, but this time the spark had chosen someone new. The sky over the dead planet cracked open. The warden descended like a god made of smoke and bone. Behind it floated 3 others, silent, massive, watching. Each one pulsed with dark energy, their presence pressing against the planet like a crushing fist. Darius stood at the mouth of the crater, the spark glowing visibly through his chest and arms. The light moved like liquid beneath his skin, pulsing brighter with every breath. He could feel the pressure building inside him like a storm waiting to be released. The older sister stepped beside him, armored and calm. The younger one stood just behind, her hands trembling. "They're not just here for you," she whispered. "They're here for the spark's final echo. If they destroy it, nothing will be left." Darius looked at them both. "Then we can't let them reach it." The ground began to shake as the first of the wardens landed. Its body cracked the surface, sending out waves of energy that turned rocks to dust. Long black tendrils reached forward like roots searching for light. The older sister walked forward first. "Stay behind me until it chooses you fully," she said to Darius. "If you try to use it now, it might destroy you." But Darius stepped up beside her. "It already has. I'm not the same man who walked into that outpost," the warden screamed, a soundless vibration that filled the air with nausea and dread. The sisters flinched. Darius didn't. He lifted his hand. A ripple of blue light flowed outward from his palm, and for the first time, the warden paused. Its tendrils froze midair. The other three in the sky shifted uneasily. "They feel it," the younger sister said in awe. "They sense he's no longer just a vessel." The older sister didn't wait. She ran straight into the storm, her body glowing with golden energy. She leapt high, slicing through one of the warden's arms with a blade of pure light. Black mist exploded into the sky. Darius stepped forward, hands shaking. He could feel the spark speaking to him now, not in words but in instincts. "Move left, step back, lift your arm, send light." He obeyed. A beam of light burst from his hand, cutting across the battlefield and striking the second warden in the chest. It screamed and staggered back, its body cracking. The ground beneath them fractured. Lightning poured from the sky. The air turned heavy with burning ash and falling debris. The younger sister created a shield of blue light, protecting them all as fire rained down. Darius turned to her. "How long can you hold that?" She shook her head. "Not long. The spark inside you is spreading faster than I expected. It's drawing from me." More tendrils reached down. The older sister was now leaping between the warden's limbs, cutting, dodging, striking. But even she was slowing. Darius knew it was time. He reached inward into the core of the spark. It burned hot, not like fire but like memory. He saw flashes again. Worlds long gone, people sacrificed to protect a force they never understood. He opened his hands, and the spark responded. Light exploded outward from him, not just in a beam, but in waves. The sky turned white. The ground cracked. One of the wardens screamed and fell backward into the void. Another tried to flee, but the third struck. A dark spike pierced Darius's side. He fell to one knee, gasping in pain. Blood poured out. The spark inside him flickered. The sisters screamed his name, but Darius didn't fall. He rose, bleeding, broken, glowing. The spark pushed through the wound, burning the darkness away. He looked up at the final warden. His eyes glowed now, not blue, but gold, like hers. And in that moment, even the wardens hesitated. They saw what he had become. Not human. Not weapon. Something new. The last warden stepped forward, its shadow spreading across the battlefield like a living wall. The others had fallen back. One destroyed, one burned to ash, one retreating into the sky. But this one remained, ancient and relentless. Darius stood with blood on his side, the spark burning brighter in his chest than ever before. The older sister was by his side, her armor cracked, one eye swollen shut. The younger sister knelt behind them, hands pressed to the earth, whispering something into the ground. "She's calling the roots," the older sister said. "The memory buried under this world." Darius didn't ask what that meant. He could feel it. The planet itself was waking up, bones, ash, and fire answering the spark's call. The spark wasn't just inside him now. It was inside everything. The warden raised its tendrils high. Dozens of black spears of energy formed above it. "I don't think we can stop that," Darius muttered. "You can," the older sister said softly, "but not with power." The younger one looked up. Her eyes were wet with light. "Let it choose fully. Stop trying to control it. Show it what you are." The spears came down. Darius didn't raise his arms. He didn't fight. He simply closed his eyes and opened his heart. The spark responded. It exploded outward, not with violence but with truth. A wave of memory burst across the battlefield. Not destruction, not fire, but feeling. The wardens froze. For the first time they trembled. Images filled the sky, Darius helping a wounded soldier, risking his life to save civilians, holding the younger sister's hand in the dark. Opening the cell not because he wanted power, but because he couldn't leave someone suffering. The warden screamed. The black spears shattered midair. The shadow retreated. The final warden, exposed to something it could not consume, mercy, began to break apart. Piece by piece, its body turned to ash and scattered into the wind. Silence followed. No more tremors. No more darkness. Only light. Darius dropped to his knees, breathing hard. The glow faded slowly from his veins, settling into a quiet pulse inside his chest. The sisters stood beside him. The younger placed her hand gently over his heart. "It chose well," she said. The older sister didn't speak. She only gave him a long, steady look. Respect. Maybe more. As the sky cleared, stars returned. The weight of the world lifted. They walked back to the ship slowly. the battlefield behind them silent and still. No enemy followed. No spark chased them. Inside the ship, Darius sat quietly while the sisters prepared for launch. "Where will we go now?" he asked. The older sister looked at the stars. "Wherever you decide. You're not just carrying the spark anymore. You are part of it now. And it listens to you." The younger one smiled softly. "There are other places that need saving. Other people waiting for someone to care." Darius stared at the stars. He didn't feel like a soldier anymore. Not even a man. He felt like something new. Something ancient and young at the same time. The spark was quiet now, but it wasn't asleep, it was waiting, and it was no longer alone.